Hello, It Fights back here, and today I'm going to go over the Synthesis League mechanic and what I believe needs to be changed to make it a much better and enjoyable experience. Let's start with the map interaction. You encounter Kvass or Zena throughout the world or maps, and a portal is open to a memory fragment. You start at a single point and must clear your way to 1 to 3 additional memory stabilizers to complete the memory and receive the memory fragment. Kvass or Zena tells a story that progresses as you reach memory stabilizers, adding a lot of easily available lore to the game as you play through the memories. The framework reskin of many existing enemies as well as new enemies looks fantastic. The skills the synthesized enemies use look and sound really cool, including even the death animations. Loot drops in the memory fragments that you do not need to actually pick up, and it is deposited at the end. Being able to see it drop in the memory fragment is pretty strange. This brings the introduction to fractured items, which contain 1 to 3 locked modifiers on the item. These items can be crafted without the fractured mod being changed. So fractured items with a good mod on them, such as a high life roll, can be crafted into a strong piece of gear with much more ease. The memory decay chasing you is a very fun mechanic to interact with. Graphically, it looks awesome. Sometimes it is super punishing, but offers the opportunity for super clutch moments. With a fast enough character, completing the memories is generally pretty easy as long as you don't blindly take a wrong turn at the very beginning of the memory fragment. Exiting the memory is extremely satisfying, as you walk into the decay back to the zone you were in previously in near seamless fashion. Map mods on the area are carried over into the memory, including sextant mods, which can make Beyond rather interesting. Lastly, the spoiler cutscene was one of the most exciting and enjoyable moments I have had playing Path of Exile, ever. So this is very cool. This could have been the entire League mechanic and I believe players would have loved it, though maybe complaining that it lacks depth. However, as with all post 3.2 Leagues, there has been a map interaction and a side area where you can interact with the content further, which brings us to the Memory Nexus. The Memory Nexus is a hub with a rotating object in the center connected to a device called the synthesizer. I will talk about the synthesizer later. There are 4 memory stablers in the 4 corners of the Nexus that bring up the memory map when you click on them. From here, you're able to place memory fragments you collected in a path towards reward nodes as well as boss encounters. On the right side are your collected memory fragments. Each memory fragment has a unique piece of artwork representative of the tile set of the zone. At the bottom of the memory fragment tiles is a number that tells you how many times the zone may be gone through before it decays and is removed from the board. Currently, this number can only be 2 or 3. When selected, all locations where that piece may be placed are highlighted. Selecting one of these locations will gray out the memory from your stock, as it is now a planned memory. It will not be placed until you click a bridge connecting to it from within a zone. Glowing tiles on the memory map will provide bonuses to memory fragments placed on that location. Reward nodes spawn in with a single path to them and have an icon indicating its rewards. If you path towards a memory modifier reward node, it will apply a bonus to all connected memory fragments. Memories with 1 use left have a pulsing blue border around them to also indicate that they will decay when you path through them. This can turn into a mess rather quickly, but then makes it an interesting puzzle to figure out how to use the pieces you have to get to the reward nodes. You can hold a maximum of 10 memory fragments. If another memory is gathered while the maximum number, the oldest memory fragment you have will be replaced in your stock. However, planned memories will not be removed. 40 memory fragments can be placed at a time, 19 reward nodes can exist at a time with the addition of a boss encounter node, and a maximum of 250 memory modifiers can exist across all placed memories. Confused yet? Good. Many others have gone over the rewards of this League content, but what I'm going to do is look specifically at the design of it as well as its major flaws. If you're interested in the current set of rewards in the Memory Nexus, I will link a video from Grimro in the description below. Here I have planned a run in which I intend to get 5 reward nodes on my way to a boss encounter. I have acquired the memory fragments needed to replace any decaying memories as I go to maximize my rewards from this run. There are 2 types of zones, stable zones and decaying zones. The first zone is a stable zone. This means that the memory decay will not close in on you, allowing you the opportunity to fully clear the area. There are, however, patches of memory decay that exist throughout the zone. When you run into a patch of memory decay in a stable zone, it will instantly teleport you to the most recent memory stabilizer you touched. It does not seem to have much of a purpose to exist in this zone at all, aside from being the border of the zone. On top of that, if you kill an enemy inside of the memory decay, all of the loot that it drops will be lost in the decay. Since this is a stable zone, the loot is not collected for you at the end as it is when getting the fragments in maps. There has to be something positive about the memory decay in the stable zones, I thought to myself, and I actually found one. The volatile Flameblood Nemesis mod creates a damaging ball that chases you. You can dive into the memory decay to teleport yourself away, and the ball will follow you in, getting swallowed by the decay. When you reach a memory stabilizer, you can portal back to the Nexus to store or sell any of the loot you gathered through the zone. The portal is slightly blocked by the large text header above the stabilizer, so you have to click carefully to go through it. Once done vendoring, you can return to where you were on your path. The next node here is a reward node. All reward nodes are zones that decay as you travel through them, similar to collecting the memories outside of the Nexus. The goal here is to race through the area to find a memory stabilizer, which can be anywhere. It is not locked to the edges like the stabilizers in other zones. Around the memory stabilizer are rewards for that zone. Once a memory stabilizer is clicked in a decaying zone, the decay will fully surround the stabilizer, and all the loot dropped in that zone will appear there around the stabilizer. Now here's the dangerous part. If you click the stabilizer around the reward loot, you will be trapped there. If you run into the decay at that point, you will be teleported to the same location because that is the last stabilizer that you touched. The only thing you can do now is return to the Nexus. However, we want to continue on the run to go to the next nodes, so we must gather all of the rewards, clear the zone as much as we are able, then run into the memory decay to be teleported to the stabilizer on the bridge on which we entered. The loot will be deposited there and we can continue. It seems very intuitive to want to click the memory stabilizer next to the reward loot. You want to click the giant red box that should say "Do not press" on it. You could have just farmed 20 plus zones to get the correct pieces to go through all the zones you want to, and if you press that, you must start again at the Nexus. The charges on your pieces will have all gone down, and you may not have the required pieces to progress to where you wanted to go anymore. Having personally experienced this, it makes you want to turn the game off and walk away. It really feels so bad. You just received rewards in the new content. Yay, okay, you're done now. Every player experiencing this content for the first time that has not watched a guide on how to interact with it will be devastatingly shut down by it just by interacting with what the game provides. It is not a difficulty barrier, it's just bad design. I have ideas on how to fix it, but for now let's carry on as I want to address all potential improvements together. Next, I want to discuss the decaying placed memory nodes. These nodes are equally as dangerous. You must run through the area to the stabilizer that leads to the next memory fragment you want to pass through. Like the reward nodes, the loot is deposited at the end. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. It's just like maps, except if you fail, your path is completely cut off. My build is fairly fast, so this usually isn't too much of an issue. The issue for me is this. In the last node, my goal was to full clear the zone, picking up whatever I wanted. In this zone, I see something drop, my brain tells me, pick that up. However, in this zone, my goal is to race through it as quickly as possible to not fail the zone, and I'll get the loot at the end. Now in the next zone, I know which way I need to go, so I rush through the zone to get to the stabilizer and realize this is a stable zone. If I want the loot, I have to go back and pick it all up. Then another decaying zone, and so on. What happens through this, though you know where you're trying to go as you planned out the path, is that you are constantly confused about what you're trying to do because the goal for completing the zone changes every zone, and you cannot get into a rhythm for clearing it. Going from mapping to delving, you can quickly get into the swing of what you're doing. In the memory nexus, you cannot. By the time you have made it through several zones, you are so lost that it is easy to mess something up that can end the whole run, such as failing to reach the stabilizer in a decaying node. Here, that only shut me off from a reward node. So then I carry on with the path. However, in this next node, I get completely shut off from where I'm trying to go. Luckily, I have a replacement piece. Then I realize my inventory is full, and when selecting to travel back to the Nexus, it is now not opening the portal. I went back a zone, and then it worked from there, so I've moved forward finally. Next stop is the boss, swapping between stable and decaying zones. Now, the return to the Nexus button is not working at all, then one zone before the boss, the game crashes, and that is it. The run is over. That took me over an hour. I got locked out of a reward node, had a decaying memory completely block my path forward, the portal back to the Nexus broke, and I crashed in the zone before the boss. I put in all of that effort to get to. I have no more pieces to try to get there again, therefore I am forced to abandon it for now and go back to mapping. I stayed with it and eventually got the pieces to go back for the boss. But it is not as simple as run 10 maps, get 10 pieces, and then go wherever you want to go. The orientation of the pieces matters, so you have to plan as you collect them, sometimes running more maps to replace pieces that are not helpful. It is all random. So now let's talk about the improvements I think should be made to the system. I do not think we should be allowed to rotate the pieces to make them work wherever we need them to. Instead, I think all memories we enter in maps should have 4 stabilizers in them. You start at a fixed point and the memory requires 2, 3, or 4 stabilizers activated to stabilize the memory. This will allow you to somewhat create your own pathing pieces based on your needs, given that you need the direction you start at. At this point, you will have stabilized the memory fragment. Memory fragments should range from 1 to 4 uses at about the rarity you find resonators in the Delve. Placed memory fragments still have a fixed number of uses, but do not decay on the final use, allowing you to path through zones at your own pace, fully clearing the zones to fully gather the rewards from the memory modifiers and avoiding the confusing transitions of how to clear the zones. I do not know why stabilized memory fragments need patches of decay at all. In its current state, it just feels janky. Reward nodes still decay as they do, and either the stabilizer at the rewards is removed, or the stabilizer could, stabilize the memory, removing the decay, opening the path to return the way you came, and giving you all the loot swallowed by the decay at that point, making the reward at the end of the rewards node feel much better. Returning to a node from a reward node should use a second use of that zone if it is available, rather than how it currently works, where the zone just stays up. Lastly, something needs to be done about the size of the stabilizer text box, and the bugs need to be fixed, because look at this boss fight. It is awesome. We should be able to experience and enjoy this content with ease rather than pain and agony. Lastly, let's talk about synthesized items. Others have gone over this in videos, and Ziggy D covered this really well, also showing off the incredible resource that is the PoE Craft website. The amount of information to go through here is outrageous, so I'm just going to touch on the mechanic. If you want to check out Ziggy D's video, it is linked in the description down below. The synthesized implicits that can be obtained in this league make the potential rewards greater than any other league by far. The system is not really geared at more casual players, but for players that want to fully min-max their gear, this is incredible. To use the synthesizer, you need to place 3 fractured items into it, and then you will get an implicit based on the rolls that are on that item. It is a wonderful thing that the synthesizer uses any mods from the item to gather the implicit rather than just the fractured mods, but it is still random which mods are chosen. I tried 3 times here to synthesize a cold damage over time multiplier on a wand. I ended up failing on all 3 to get the implicit I wanted. I personally believe that if all 3 items have the same mod on them, it should be favored in the process. Let me explain why. The best in-slot implicits for my character on a staff are +1 socketed cold gems and 27 to 30 cold damage over time multiplier. In order to get that, I need 3 fractured staves with 2 fractured mods on each. Across these staves, I need a total of +5 level of cold gems and +200 cold damage over time multiplier. The only way I can think that this is possible is to get the staves, then use frigid fossils on them until I get plus the level of cold gems and T1 or T2 cold dot multiplier. one definitely has to be T1. I used 10,000 alts last league and saw T1 cold dot multiplier twice on a staff. If I go through that entire process and manage to get what I need on the staves, I will have likely invested many exalts into it, and I should be guaranteed to get the implicits that I'm after, as the mods that I need on the staves are already so rare to get together. It is going to probably take all league, and the staff will only be super good for the build I am playing. I would hate for the synthesizer to decide in the end that the staff deserves a garbage implicit from the fractured mods on the item. I can promise you that I'm not going to try this twice. That is not even mentioning that afterwards I will have to craft something good on the staff, which is already hard enough as it is. It doesn't need to be impossible to actually get the implicits. Despite being pitched with the league as a possibility, it is still not possible to use essences or fossils on fractured items yet. I am seriously concerned about this, because in Betrayal, the +1 curse chest and the totem shield mods were not available at the start of the league. This does not seem to me to be something too difficult to enable, which makes me wonder as to the possibility that GGG is purposely hanging these awesome features over our heads, implementing them later to keep us engaged with the league longer by giving us the thing we wanted to play around with at the start of the league later once they have fixed the league they knew wasn't ready to launch when they launched it. On that note, that's all I want to say about this. I am looking forward to changes regardless of whether or not my suggestions are taken. Let me know your ideas in the comments down below. I'll be making another video shortly on the changes to my life-based cold damage over time occultist build with 3.6 changes. Subscribe for more Path of Exile content, and thanks for watching.